Hello there and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I am Victor Matthias. Protests by pro-Biafran supporters shut down major cities in the southeast in recent weeks as the director of the Radio Biafra continues to remain in the custody of the Department of State Security. These protests started as an uncoordinated voices of dissent but have now reached a crescendo, and that's where we'll be beaming our searchlight today. But first, let's take a look at the trending topics in the past week. The fuel scarcity in Nigeria continued for the second week as long queues remained the order of the day in cities and high prices in rural and semi-urban areas. Residents of North Central Kogi State came out en masse to decide who will be the chief executive of the Confluence State for the next 4 years. Catalan giants Barcelona thrashed their perennial arch-rivals Real Madrid 4-0 at the Santiago Bernabeu in the first Clásico of the 2015-2016 season.
This issue of secession is not only alien to Africans. We have had such issue of Crimea in the past, and even in Spain now, the country has gone to see it. But I think for Nigeria, any campaign against the corporate existence of Nigeria as a nation state, whether in the name of restructuring or secession, is marked by the refusal to address some geographical compactness and interdependence of the Nigerian state. Because I think we are so much intertwined geographically, even the notion of secession is not feasible. Because if you want to secede, most of the, I was born and brought up in the North, most of the prominent ventures in the North today are owned by the people from the East who want to secede. So how do you transfer this capital? How do you move this capital? Their property, their immobile capital, how do you move this? How do you reshuffle this? How do you balance this equation financially? And also I will say that the basis, in my opinion, the basis of this call for secession it shows that the weakness in the state's capacity, it shows the weakness of Nigeria as a state and in its failure and its inability to provide socially, economically, and political instability for all round boundaries of the country. So the state has a role to play in this secession, and the people clamoring for this secession whom feel they are marginalized, in my opinion, in which in my opinion they are not marginalized, it is a baseless call because I don't see any reason logically why we should call for secession of Nigeria.
I don't think the way to achieve this thing is via protest, street protest, sending all sorts of violent messages. A friend of mine was in Delta State for a wedding last weekend, and he listened to, in a bus he was in, they tuned to the Radio Biafra. And the kind of crazy words he said he heard on that radio station, I don't think that's the way to achieve this goal. You know, if you want to separate, there was a time Nigeria felt, oh, we want to be independent from the British. And we didn't just go to the streets of Britain or some other place to be running around the place. We went to our parliament, our parliamentarians said, Britain, we voted, we don't want to be part of this anymore. And the British, they looked at it and they accepted, they gave a timeline. So, like I've said it severally on different platforms, if people want to leave a country, they tell their senators, they tell their representatives to go to the Senate, move a motion, support the motion, you know, and let's see how it goes, but not through street protests, not through sending violent messages all around the place.
If people want to secede from Nigeria for whatever reason, even though I don't agree with it, for whatever reason, there are right channels to go through. There are right things that you should go through. Recently in the UK, there was a referendum that Scotland wanted to secede from the United Kingdom, but then there was a referendum, and then they voted, and they were like, okay, we want to stay with the UK, and that was the end of it. If they want to do that, let them follow the right channels. Calling for violence is the wrong thing, and it will only get the opposite reaction from the Nigerian government. No government will sit down with its arms behind the back and just say, okay, because they've gone on the streets and they are being violent, and then therefore they are calling for violence, therefore let's give them what they want. It's never going to happen. Their job is to make sure that there's security within the society, within the country, and they're going to ensure that they do that. If they want Biafra, then they should go through the right channels and go through the right channels of communication. The way it is, it just looks like come together and try to just manipulate and just get money for whatever reasons. But if they want it, let them go through the right channels. If there is a referendum, if there will be one, whether they accept it or not, then that's another issue. But then they've totally gone the wrong way, and I don't think that any government will be ready to listen to them with the way they've gone about it, causing violence around the country.
All right, just hold that thought there. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us. All right, let me just come back to you now to continue from where we stopped.
And now, first of all, the question is, who are the Biafrans? Because there seems not to be a defined territory or geography that says that these people who are fighting for Biafra belongs to this group. Because when I listen to the messages, which are very, very hateful, and also they try to actually identify the group that actually should belong to them, it seems to me that this is a cause that would actually, a battle that would never be won. Because you cannot be mentioning a man who is from Igala when you cannot speak his language. You cannot be mentioning a man who is from somewhere in Delta when you cannot speak his language, and you believe that they actually are part of your ethnic group and they should actually belong to your fight. And you go to their states, and the people in that state are not in support of the fight for this actualization of this movement. And you're actually disturbing the peace of that place, wanting to enforce on the people that they actually should belong to your group or your country. I mean, this is actually where the security agencies should, I think that they are doing quite well to quench the potential crisis that is going to be blown up if the thing is not being kept under control. I think that for me, the cause of Biafra is really ill-motivated, not properly articulated. If there is a honest fight, a honest quest for a Biafra state, the people who are following it and the method who they are actually pursuing about it, it's completely wrong.
Nigeria operates a centralized federal system where the states depend on the federal government for their budget. If we had a decentralized central system whereby every state, its revenue imperative, they raise their own revenue, they use this revenue to implement their own policies. If any section of the country is undeveloped, they have to they hold the leaders of that region accountable, not the federal government. So there's a whole setup of the arbitrary borders we inherited from the colonial masters, and the system of government. The federal government generates roughly over 75% of the revenue of the Nigerian state. If these states had the imperative to generate their own revenue internally or externally in whatever means, they can implement policies that suits this region. For example, you cannot be in Abuja and know what the people in Imo need. Do you understand? The people in Imo know what they need in Imo.